So let me start by sharing a personal experience I had recently. I had my second child, and I realized that I was focused all the time on it. I was saying, oh, how amazing she is. And in the meanwhile, my other child, which was a bit older, was suffering in silence. And I realized, wow, maybe I'm doing something wrong. The older child is amazing in the same way as the cute baby. And I should be balanced and give the same attention to it. And some time ago, when speaking with Dario, I said, Dario, I really don't want to talk about GenAI because everybody's really talking about it. It's not the topic I want to cover. And I said, let me cover something that no one is talking about right now, blockchain technology. And I think this picture here really represents the reality. A few years ago, everyone was talking about it. Now there's a new baby. The other one is drowning. And let me introduce myself first before explaining you more into detail why I think blockchain still plays a fundamental role nowadays. My name is Federico Baldelli. I'm working as Omnichannel lead at Almirall, which is a global pharmaceutical company headquartered in Barcelona, which aims to become the most customer-centric medical dermatology company. More important than anything for this presentation is not my background, where I've been working before, but that I'm a father, and this inspired me in this presentation. So, yesterday, I spoke with some people here, and they were saying, yeah, but Omnichannel is dead, it's very difficult, we have to go back to the fundamentals. And I agree, the most important thing are people, the business. We need to be customer-centric, people-centric, and push technologies that people want to implement and that make sense. And by the way, this is a picture from America's Cup that ended last week in Barcelona. New Zealand team won. And if you think about the New Zealand team, without their amazing boat, they would not be able to move forward. So imagine you have a super skilled team, but you don't have the technology. You won't be able to compete on the market. So I think that our approach should be focusing on the foundations of Omnichannel, focusing on people, and at the same time, pushing bold innovations. Because as you know, in the healthcare industry, if you want to bring something to the market, it takes several years. Now, looking at this curve, I think you saw it many times. It's the Gartner hype cycle curve. Even though I'm not really the GenAI expert here, I have the feeling that with GenAI, we are on the top right now. And I hear many people saying the winter is coming, things will get more difficult. I don't know, but I have the same feeling we're in a similar situation with blockchain almost a decade ago. And if I look at the blockchain industry, now let me separate the technology from all the other, let's say, speculative things, which I'm not really interested talking about. The blockchain industry, I think it touched really the bottom. Saying the word blockchain nowadays sounds almost bad. So I think it really touched the bottom. And I think there are many things that the industry learned and that can share with the GenAI community, right? So looking at the phase in which blockchain stands right now, I think as a technology, we could say it's in the slope of enlightenment. And now, just going back to the fundamentals. On the left, you can see a centralized model. On the right, a decentralized one. And if you imagine now a very simple case where you store the data on the centralized one in the main hub, right? Imagine you have all your information in one place and you give that one entity all the responsibility of maintaining that data and making sure it's safe. What do you think could happen? While if you look at the decentralized model where the data or the responsibility is distributed, I think it's quite clear that putting all the eggs in one basket, having everything centralized, is not really the best idea. And let me give you some examples about how the web is developing, right? On the left, you can see, this is a basic example now with a car. I will mention then some other examples about healthcare. But if you imagine before, when buying a car, you had to go on a website, you had to find someone that was selling it, you had to go to see the car, look at some data, trust the data that the third party that verified it really, that it is true. Then you had to sign a contract, and then you could transfer that good. On the other hand, right now with blockchain, we're moving towards a direction where you have smart contracts, which means you don't have an intermediary in between the one that wants to sell and the one that wants to buy. You can have all the data in this car of a car stored directly on the blockchain, meaning all the data coming from the good, let's say the engine, how many times it was repaired, if it had accidents, anything would come directly to the blockchain without the need of any intermediary putting it in there. And with a contract, which is basically code, you would be able to transfer the good from one person to the other. So this eliminates intermediaries in many use cases. But more importantly, it generates transparency and it executes the way we are engaging with each other on the web. Now, looking at healthcare, imagine that you own all your medical data. You're the real owner, and you can decide anytime who can access it, for which purposes, and you could change your preferences at any moment. This technology would allow it. Or another use case, imagine that you want to promote adherence, right? You could have, let's say, a patient that needs to inject himself with a medical device, right? You could have this data directly transferred. And you could, more importantly, you could reward that patient without any intermediary, right? Another very simple example that was implemented, that is being already implemented by some pharma companies, connecting HCPs with supply chain data. So yesterday, some speakers were talking about the risk of having some medical products like not in the stocks, and this would represent a risk for our patients, right? So all these kind of things, all this kind of data could be transferred to HCPs without the need of having an intermediary that looks at it and manually communicates it. So you could avoid mistakes, you can be faster, and most important of everything, you could be supporting the health of your patients in the best possible way. Now, looking as well how our data is stored, I find it something amazing if I think that my healthcare data are stored on servers. I honestly speaking think it's something which is commonly done, but I really don't think this is the future. Because if I look at all the data breaches that are happening on a daily basis in the industry, things are not really getting better. And also thinking about how the world is evolving, I don't think that servers are really sustainable. I will share some examples and explain why I believe it. So if we look at other industries, not at the pharma industry, which I think we all agree we are not the most innovative ones, even though we're really pushing to do so. If we look at it, we can see that we switched from an on-matter approach, right, where we were saving our data on paper, on stone, on iron, to an on-server approach, where all the data is stored on servers. And I believe that not for all the data. I don't think that the switch will be radical, that everything will be on-chain. But I think that for the most important data, where we need to make sure that this data is true, that it can be tracked. And when I say tracked, I mean that you can see where the origin comes from. You know, Xenia was talking before about synthetic data, and I will explain you also about how synthetic data is increasing with GenAI. So even though I promised Dario not to talk about AI, I think I have to do it because blockchain really works hand in hand with AI. Now, this is a video I wanted to play, but for the sake of time, I won't. If you look on the internet, you will find multiple fake XCPs, which are, in many cases, just avatars of KOLs or famous HCPs promoting fake medical products. It's increasingly happening. So my question is, in this case, how can you, on a sustainable way, make sure that our customers, now and even more in future, as GenAI will create more and more contents that can be also used for bad purposes, how can you verify that this data is true? So going back to the previous presentation, right? Synthetic data is increasing exponentially. So by 2030, we may have more synthetic data than actually real data. So the question here, as I was saying before, how do we make sure that we know where this data is coming from? How do we trace the origin of this data? How do we know if this data is true or not? I mean, I would like to see a future, ideally only with AI, without any additional layer, right? Without blockchain. But looking at this data, I think there's no alternative, right? And also, talking about ChatGPT, you know, if you ask ChatGPT to provide you some data and you ask it, is this data true? It will reply, I don't know. I mean, I'm not trained to tell you what's true or not. You are the one that needs to verify this. But I mean, I cannot be an expert in everything, right? So if I ask GenAI about topics where I'm not an expert, I will be quite in trouble. And I also here, I really think there's an opportunity to combine GenAI with blockchain to make sure that information is verified by AI. So thinking about CX, what is a good CX? Good CX is personalized. I think we all agree. And I think it's already a challenge doing a good CX which is personalized based on our customers' needs. And I think it's also a challenge to be integrated across platforms, across brands. But more important than anything, I think a good CX should be executable. Let me explain you a bit more into detail in the next few slides about what I mean with executable. If I look at how the tech industry, and let's say how the web in general, evolved, I think you all remember the first blogs. We were all reading them. It was amazing having a personal blog. And all the information we were finding there, we had to trust it. We were reading, we were trusting it. Then social media came out. We could read, we had to trust, we could write. And now if we look at other industries, we can see that there are solutions that allow you to read, to verify, meaning the information that you read is verified as being true. You can write, and then you can execute, meaning you can, without having intermediaries, you can have smart contracts, you can program some actions happening based on code. Now, let's imagine in Omnichannel CX, we're all working in a closed box, right? We have a CRM, we have websites. Now, imagine you could execute a customer experience that goes outside of this box. Imagine you have a customer experience that is connected with external data, like, I don't know, weather, financial data, data from, as I was saying before, medical devices. So imagine the potential that omnichannel customer experience could have. It could be going beyond any existing tool that we're using, right? So if I think about, I know this looks ambitious, right? But I think we need to think ahead. If we think how the pharma industry's customer experience could look like, we could not follow exactly like other industries are doing, but I think we could take the best from those. And we could develop a model where our customers can read, verify, like when they see a video from an HCP, from a KOL, they can verify that it's real information. If they have access to synthetic data, they know that it's true. They can, of course, write. And most important, they can execute. And now, if we think about healthcare, as I was saying before, it's something that is connected with multiple sectors, right? From supply chains, security, data storage, authenticity verification, financial services. So if you think about AI, how can you use AI to execute, combine, connect all these different elements and deliver a customer experience to HCPs and also for patients, right? So thinking about my key messages is I agree GenAI is incredible, and I think it's good that we're talking about it. I think there are many things that are changing, and honestly speaking, I don't think that the AI winter, will be that strong. I think we will be in a phase that maybe we will focus more on the regulations, on structuring the way we're working with AI, making it compliant. But I think it's something that is here to stay. Now, looking at blockchain, I think it works hand in hand with AI. And looking forward, I think we should really consider adopting it. And the third point, which is, I think it's at the bottom of the slides, but it's the most important one, is that people should always come first. Because if they're not willing or open to adopt new technologies or change the way we are working, it would not make sense to push these technologies. So like at the beginning, when having a sailing team, you need to have a team, and you need to have a good technology. And now, I mean, for me, as a conclusion of this presentation here is, as a father, the most important moments of happiness, it's when I see my kids playing together, when they support each other, when they're taking care of each other. And I think this should be the same for all of us, regardless of the technology. We should look at blockchain, at GenAI, but even at other technologies. And when we see them working together and benefiting our patients, we should be all happy and do everything to support this combination. So, yeah, thank you for participating in this session. And I really invite you to think bold, to innovate, and maybe fix the foundations, but also think that other industries are more innovative than us, but we have, I think, even the bigger responsibility to push innovation to the next level to benefit our patients. So let's work on the foundation, but let's also push hard to move forward with technology. Thank you.